Where the Buckeyes fall in this week's AP poll, how this week's AP poll will impact the very first college football playoff rankings of the season, and a few game balls to give out for this week's game. All that and more in this episode of Locked on Buckeyes.
You are Locked on Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Buckeye fans? Welcome back to another episode of Locked on Buckeyes for the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. It is Monday, November 1st in the year 2021. It now seemed like an ideal time to discuss how the Buckeyes fall in this week's AP poll and dive into some things that will be coming out on Tuesday evening. But first, I want to thank everyone that makes this podcast the first listen of their day, and for everyone that has subscribed to the Locked on Buckeyes YouTube channel. Thank you as well. If you have not subscribed, go ahead and do so. Hit that bell so you're notified every time a new video goes live. This Tuesday, the first college football playoff rankings come out, and I do believe the AP poll that was released on Sunday afternoon, this week's AP poll has a lot of weight and holds a lot of weight and influence into how the committee puts the rankings out that will be released Tuesday evening at 7. We'll have a reaction to those rankings coming ready for you on Wednesday. In this week's AP poll, the Ohio State Buckeyes drop one spot to number 6. The Michigan State Spartans move up from number 8 to number 5 after beating their rival, the Wolverines, in East Lansing. 10 through 1 of this week's AP poll go as follows. Number 10, Wake Forest, who is still undefeated at 8-0. Number 9, the team up north. Number 8, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish that still only have one loss on the season. Number 7, the Oregon Ducks, still one loss to Stanford. Number 6, Ohio State. Their only loss, as you know, is to Oregon. Number 5, Michigan State. They are still undefeated. Number 9, the Oklahoma Sooners, 9-0. Number 3, Alabama, one loss to Texas A&M. Number 2, Cincinnati Bearcats of the American Athletic Conference. They're undefeated. And then number 1, the Georgia Bulldogs of the Southeastern Conference, and they are undefeated as well. With Ohio State losing and with how people have viewed Ohio State to date, and with them getting a top 25 win via the AP against an AP poll team, it's one thing that I think that people have been waiting for them to get all season long. When you look at how Ohio State has played and how they have basically ran through teams like Indiana, teams like Maryland, a team like Rutgers, a team like Akron, you're thinking, okay, we expect these things from Ohio State. We expect them to run through the Akrons, run through the Indianas, run through the Rutgers teams. We're expecting them to do those things. Now, early in the season, the struggles that they had, struggles against Minnesota, struggles against Oregon, struggles against Tulsa. Those are things that I think people were still holding against Ohio State because Ohio State had no AP top 25 wins. Now that they have that, and might I add, Penn State stayed in the top 25 in both the coaches poll and the AP poll. I think that's very big. Because Penn State, who has lost 3 games in a row now, a game to Iowa, a game to Illinois last week, and a game to Ohio State, you were thinking, or many people were thinking, Penn State's going to fall out of the top 25, and that's not going to be very beneficial for Ohio State moving forward. Yes, they were AP top 25 at the time of that game, but there are some pollsters that say, hey, I know what they were at the time of that, but we have seen what they are after that. We're going to knock Ohio State, even though at the time Penn State was a top 25 team. They're not now, so we're going to knock them for that. I believe that Ohio State falling to number 6 in this week's AP poll, one, it's not the end of the world because this poll doesn't hold any weight at the end of the season. But as we look to what's going to come out on Tuesday evening, as far as the AP poll having any influence with the committee is looking at what the AP is doing, what the media that are voting in this poll, what they think and how they view these teams. Because the media, they are more entrenched, they are more in tune with what's going on with these teams on a day-to-day basis. The committee members, a lot of them are ADs or presidents, and a lot of them don't have the time to put into the day-to-day grind to watch the tape, to watch the film, to know what's going on with all these teams that are playing college football right now. Ohio State falling might be a sign of things to come. We'll talk about that in a few seconds. It also may be a sign for the football team now to say, hey, look, we know we don't follow the polls. We don't use the polls to gauge how we are playing the football right now. But when it comes to having a spot in the college football playoff at the end of the season, Ohio State still has to prove it on the field. 4 games left against Nebraska, a game in a week from now on the road in Lincoln. That is a 12 noon kick. That is a Gus Johnson, Joel Klatt, and Jenny Taft call that will be on Big Fox next weekend at 12 noon Eastern. They also have a home game against Purdue, a home game against Sparty that definitely looks like that'll be a huge, tough test right before Ohio State plays their biggest rival, the team up north. Nothing is solidified just yet. But what Ohio State has played, they can look and say, okay, look, this is how the AP is doing things. This is how we have played. This is how we view ourselves. We know now there are humans in play to put us or not put us inside of the college football playoff. We did things enough, just enough to win the game. We did enough to win the game on Saturday. We got to fix things very, very quickly because with the human element involved, if we come out and make big changes immediately and we're bam, 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 running through the rest of the Big Ten schedule that's right in front of us, the pollsters, the committee members have no option but to put us in the Final Four. But these people are going to get a lot of their influence from the AP poll. And seeing Ohio State fall to number 6 might have an impact on what the committee thinks as they put their first rankings out on Tuesday evening. The committee itself, they are put into a tough task every single year to put the top 4 teams into the college football playoff. I normally, and as you know, we normally don't go through and talk about AP poll rankings or coaches poll. And the coaches poll, Ohio State is still at number 5 in that poll. We normally don't go through that and talk about that here on this show. But with the first committee rankings coming out Tuesday, this seems like an ideal time to not only see and talk about how the media or the AP voters view Ohio State in their resume, but also how the committee is looking at and how they will view Ohio State going forward. The committee is tasked to do one thing: put the top 4 teams in the playoff. People will say, and I am of this belief, that what happens right now doesn't really matter, doesn't have an impact on what happens at the end. But this is a great way for the coaches, the players to view, say, hey, this is how we view, this is not only how the AP will impact the committee, this is how the committee views us right now. If you go back to the 2014 season, I believe, when Ohio State won the Natty, when you look at those polls, I recently listened to somebody talk about how TCU was in the Final Four and then they fell out of the Final Four when they didn't have a game. Why is that? Because Ohio State obliterated, ran right through, destroyed the Wisconsin Badgers in that. And Ohio State played so well in that game, 59-0, and Wisconsin did not cross the 50-yard line until the final play of the game. Because Ohio State did things on the field in the final game, Ohio State was that's what propelled Ohio State into the top 4. The TCU Horned Frogs hopped out, and Ohio State went on to win the first college football playoff national championship. The media members hold a lot of weight. I do think with them seeing, with Ohio State falling in the AP poll, I do honestly think that you might see Ohio State outside of the top 4 initially. Why? Because the AP poll, this AP poll will have an impact on what the committee members think right now. I have personally put together a top 4 plus 2 in this right now. You might not agree with it. You might agree with it. But once you hear my explanation and as far as why I think this is how things are going to go right now, it might make sense. If you are someone that wants to chime back in, hop into the comment section on YouTube, leave a 5-star review and leave your thoughts there as well. As long as there's a 5-star review, leave your comments. Maybe you disagree, maybe you agree, it doesn't matter. Just find ways to get back at me. On Twitter, I'm always available at jstevens07. That is Steven spelled with a PH. I do welcome a healthy dialogue, a back and forth, because some of you may agree with me, some of you may not. And this is why I'm saying this right now. I mentioned earlier how Ohio State falling will possibly impact what the committee thinks about Ohio State right now. Here I'm going to go through my top 4 plus 2, the same thing that Reese Davis and the gang will do on Tuesday evening as they release the first committee rankings. Number 1, I got Georgia. Number 2, this was very, very tough because I was very interesting to see what this is going to go with. Number 2, I have Alabama. Number 3, I have Michigan State. Number 4, I have Oklahoma. I do think Oklahoma, with them being undefeated right now, is one reason why they're in my top 4. They will be in the top 4 when the committee rankings come out. This is how I project it, how I project things are going to come out, and I will still have Oklahoma in my top 4 right now. So 1, Georgia, 2, Alabama, number 3, Michigan State, number 4, Oklahoma. I do think Ohio State is number 5. Then they'll put Cincinnati at 6. I'd be highly, highly shocked if the committee came out and said, hey, we're going to go out and put Oregon above Ohio State. Because I do believe Ohio State has shown they are not the same team they were week 1, week 2, or week 3. And the week 2 matchup, even though there were some glimpses from the defense of things that we saw during that matchup against the Oregon Ducks, the defense of Ohio State is drastically improved. That Ohio State and that defense, nobody thinks that they'll repeat what they saw during week number 2. They may still have issues defending the edge, not so much on the boundary, but to the field. You may have issues doing that. Just all depends on who is in the game at that time. But I do believe it'll be Georgia, Alabama, Michigan State 3, Oklahoma 4, and then Ohio State 5, Cincinnati 6. Why do I have Alabama at 2? It's the Bama effect. Nobody likes it. It's just the ultimate reality. Bama, Nick Saban, they get the benefit of the doubt. And I do think, yes, they lost to Texas A&M earlier in the season. That was actually the month of October. I forgot about when that was. It feels like that was back in September. That loss was in the month of October. Georgia's undefeated. They look like the best team in college football. You may say, Jay, they don't have an amazing quarterback. Doesn't matter. That defense is elite. That defense is real. All the talk about Ohio State's offense, yes, that is eye-popping. It's not as sexy to talk about a defense that is dominant. Go back and look at their numbers. Look at how they're dominating. There's a reason why people are saying Jordan Davis, the nose tackle from Georgia, should be in the Heisman Trophy conversation. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think he should. I have a hard time saying a defensive player, especially at that position, should be in there. I'm not saying he is not good enough to do that. He's really, really good. But it's a collective effort by the defensive front, which is why they are so dominant on defense. Watch Georgia's defense. You'll learn a lot about them and why they dominate everybody that they play. Alabama, number 2, they get the Bama effect. Number 3 with Michigan State. I think Michigan State, some people kind of forgot about how good they are. Granted, I know they're in the Big Ten. They're in the Big Ten East. They're going to have some tough tests coming up. So be it. When you look at how Michigan State has played the football, it doesn't matter who's in front of them. They're finding a way to win the games. Michigan State at number 3 for me. Number 4, you got to give credit. Oklahoma at times does not look like the Oklahoma that people thought they would be going into the season. Oklahoma at times, with Spencer Rattler at quarterback, looked a little shaky. Even with Caleb Williams, now true freshman quarterback. Against Kansas, that was not what you expect Oklahoma to do. But granted, he had some hiccups. He didn't have the best game, but they still won. And the way they played this past weekend or a couple days ago over the weekend, I still got to say it's Oklahoma 4. Ohio State, if Ohio State is 5, if they were able to squeak by a win over Oregon in week 2, and they still had the same type of play against Minnesota and against Tulsa, I would have Ohio State in my top 4 and bump Oklahoma. I think that Ohio State is the better football team if they were on the same field playing each other. But with that one loss, and with if they would have looked more dominant against Penn State a couple days ago, I would honestly think that Ohio State would be in the top 4 right now. But they're not. Georgia, Alabama, Michigan State, Oklahoma. That's how I think things are going to go with the committee. When the committee releases their rankings on Tuesday evening, this is coming out right now. Recorded this October 31st, 2021 at 5:07 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Want to timestamp that verbally. I got it written down right here on my notebook so that when the rankings come out, we have a reaction to the first rankings when they come out. I'll look down at my notebook, put down the time, the date, and recap with a guest. Can't announce that just yet, but Jay will have somebody on with him to react to that very ranking instantly. We'll see exactly how things go. Sorry, Cincinnati. I think right now you're on the outside looking in because you're not in a Power 5 conference. Guys, I don't normally do game balls and give game balls out during the season. I didn't last year. I didn't right now. But now is a great time to start a new trend, and we may just start coming in here short episodes over the weekend where we release game balls. And I had some time to go back and look at some film and look at some things that Ohio State did. The game ball on defense and special teams, that was very, very easy. We'll go with the offense, we'll go defense, we'll go special teams. And I do think when you hear this, you'll understand why the game balls are going to the individuals that they are going to. On offense, I'm very critical of things. In the moment, I was, maybe this is his issue. But Travion Henderson, with how the linebackers are filling the holes for Penn State and with how the offensive line from Ohio State at times are struggling to open holes for him, you got to give this man credit. Because that 68-yard skedaddle up the left sideline, and I was hoping. I didn't think it was going to happen because the defender was coming in very quickly, but I was hoping that Travion Henderson was going to find a way to be able to get his feet inside that end zone before he was tackled. Travion Henderson, 28 carries, 152, I believe, on the ground. You have to give credit with one touchdown. We got to give credit to where credit is due. In a game where every inch, everything is close, everything is hard to come by, Travion Henderson, in the face of adversity, in the face of a tough game, in the face of not being able to move the ball like you think he was going to, Travion Henderson kept on fighting, kept on going. Travion Henderson was part of the reason Ohio State was in the position that they were later in the game. I thought at times we're going to see different things offensively to help open some holes for him via offensive linemen or different pre-snap movements and things like that, different personnel groupings, instead of 12 personnel, figuring out who was going to be in when 12 personnel was the move. Didn't see all of those things that I thought we were going to see in the first and second quarter to try to open up holes for him. But when Ohio State needed a spark, Ryan Day kept going with him. And Travion Henderson down the stretch had some big runs that helped propel this offense to be victorious in this game. Defensively, I could have gone 3 different ways. I have 3 different names, only one game ball to go to the defense. On offense, I could have gone to a receiver or 2, as well as Henderson. Only one game ball, and I got to give it to Henderson right now for this week. The second one for defense, I'm going to talk about who I didn't give it to and then talk about who it's going to. And when I get down to who it's going to make a lot of sense. I could have given a game ball to Cam Brown. Cam Brown has been out. He has been injured. He has been battling. He's been trying to get healthy to get back on the field. Sevyn Banks is still starting out there. Is Sevyn Banks better than Cam Brown? Okay. You may say yes. You may say no, but that's a debate that I'm sure you are having amongst your peers, maybe at the barbershop, just talking about things that Ohio State is currently doing right now on the football field, specifically on the defensive side. I could have gone to Cam Brown because getting your first career interception in the moment when it came coming off when Tyreek Smith was once again in Sean Clifford's face. He was in the backfield all night long. I could have gone to Cam Brown. Unfortunately, no. I could have gone to Ronnie Hickman. Ronnie Hickman led the team in tackles once again with 14. Ronnie Hickman, another individual that was also very instrumental in Ohio State, slowing down any attack, all of the rushing attack of Penn State. They're already not a good rushing team. Ohio State's rush defense is already really good. We could have gone with Ronnie Hickman for the defensive game ball. But it goes to the big man. 305 pounds on the television screen. They showed us that he ran that 5.140. Now, that was with a running start, and I know he did not run straight with that as well. And also, he was not fresh because he had been playing the football, and you're not fresh when you're playing play after play after play. But Jerron Cage, that scoop and score. Ohio State was down, I believe, at that time. It was down or tied. I believe they were down at the time when that happened. And the next thing you know, Jerron Cage, off of, once again, Tyreek Smith and Zach Harrison being in the backfield and making things difficult for Sean Clifford and the offensive line of Penn State. They held a lot that night. I don't complain about the rest very much. I don't really put that stuff on the Twitter or talk about that with people that I talk to during games when I'm at home. But that Penn State O-line definitely did hold quite a bit. They thought they could slow down the rushing attack. They did slow it down occasionally. But let me tell you, Tyreek Smith back there, Zach Harrison back there, leading and causing a fumble from Sean Clifford, and then Jerron Cage running that thing all the way back. That was a great boost, and that was a great game changer for Ohio State. Ohio State, at times, the game was tied, but they were never in deficit. They were never losing after that mark. Jerron Cage gets a game ball for the defense. And then last but not least, somebody that I was curious to see how he played and how he looked in this season in an area that it's you and only you on the field. It's not like you're an offensive lineman. There are 5 of you and you work as a unit. It's not like you're a defensive lineman. There are 4 of you. In Ohio State's case for linebackers, there are 2 of you. When you're the kicker, you got a holder, you got a snapper, a long snapper that snaps the ball. You got a holder who you're putting your faith into to put that ball in place and get laces out. But then it's you kicking the ball. Yeah, you got elements. Yeah, you got possibly 11 guys rushing in, generally about 9 or 10 that are rushing in. But you got some things coming at you that doesn't come at anybody else. And Noah Ruggles, I believe he was 3. Let me get this correct as I look at the numbers very quickly. And here we keep trying to scroll. There we go. He was 3 for 3 with extra points. And he was 4 for 4 in field goals. A guy that I was making comments about, not negative comments, just observations. He was not consistent at North Carolina. Didn't kick consistently last year at North Carolina before he transferred to Ohio State. In 2020, he only had 1 kick. I believe it was 1 field goal. In 2019, he was, I think, 70% from kicking field goals. He has not missed a kick yet. Ohio State, in the moment, went to Sean Clifford, had a 35-yard field goal at the 2:02 mark of the first quarter. Noah Ruggles had a 23-yard field goal at the 6:42 mark of the third quarter. He also had a 25-yard field goal at the 7:12 mark of the fourth, and then a 26-yard field goal at the 2:41 mark of the fourth quarter. Those things are very key. Those things are huge. And when Kevon Lee scored to get it 27-24 in Ohio State's red zone struggles, you were wondering if Ohio State struggles in the red zone and Stroud had a quiet 300-yard passing game, who was going to be the one to put points on the board? Someone that has been consistent 100% all season long. Game ball for special teams goes to Noah Ruggles. I got to give him a hand clap. Because even going into the season, I remember Ryan Day making a statement and saying, I'm still uneasy and we're not sure who's going to be the kicker for Ohio State because these guys are still being inconsistent. Well, the inconsistency that we had seen or maybe we expected from Noah Ruggles or the kicking game, whoever the kicker was, has not been there. Made every extra point, made every field goal. Noah Ruggles, special teams game ball, goes to you guys. We're here on a Monday. Hope everyone had a fun, safe, enjoyable Halloween with the kids. Maybe you went to a Halloween party or two over the weekend. I know a lot of you or us are recovering from the weekend, from football. Browns fans, sorry. From Buckeyes wins on Saturday. We all love that. We're going to get ready for this upcoming game coming up this Saturday against the Nebraska Cornhuskers. I can't wait for that matchup. I think it'll be a tougher matchup than many people think it will be. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. You can also send all of your emails to jstevens317 at gmail.com. If you want to text me at any time, send it to 850-462-5442. That's a text line. You can go ahead and send a text message or send a voicemail. We'll gladly fill that. If you have a question you want to send in, you can do it via Apple Podcasts, via a 5-star review. Text the question in, send it in via the voicemail line or the text line, 850-462-5442, or my DMs on Twitter at jstevens07. All of them are open. Thank everyone, and I encourage everyone to make sure you make Locked On Buckeyes your first listen of every single day. And for listen number 2, make sure you check out the Locked On Big Ten podcast, because there's simply no better place to catch everything and to stay up to date with everything going on with the Big Ten Conference than with Nate Dickinson and the Locked On Big Ten podcast. On Monday, myself, I will be on there with Nate, recapping everything that was going on in the weekend that we enjoyed in the Big Ten Football Conference. You can catch the Locked On Big Ten podcast on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your fine podcast.